Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Little Perspective. This is your host, Nikhil, and this is your host, Pranav. Today, we have a very special and energetic podcast lined up for you. Today's guest is Rachel, who's the founder of Session Studio, a one of a kind, unique studio in Regina, Saskatchewan.
We had an amazing conversation with Rachel about overcoming obstacles, leadership, and growth. Rachel is very dedicated and committed towards her craft. I hope after listening to this podcast, we all leave with a little perspective. Awesome.
And scene.
Okay, well, welcome to A Little Perspective, guys. Today we have a very special guest, Rachel. How are you doing today, Rachel?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
So
Pretty
far, so good?
Yeah.
So far, so good. I like it.
Awesome. So, Rachel, at the start of every podcast, we start to get the ball rolling about asking the guest about, tell us a little bit about yourself and just give us like a brief intro for yourself.
Yeah, no worries. So my name is Rachel. I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska, in a town pretty much the same size as Regina. I went to school there. My life was there, very outdoorsy. And I kind of wanted to do the big city thing. So I moved to Paris when I was a little bit younger, right out of high school. Ended up doing most of my adult life in marketing and fashion in Los Angeles. Was in Vegas for a while doing a bunch of marketing and content creation, and then now I'm in Regina. So it's been a kind of fun trajectory. It's nice to come back to a city that feels kind of similar to my home as I've gotten older. So now I run a gym called Session. It's actually a fitness studio. We specialize in dynamic sequencing and movement. So I created a method, and we teach trampoline-based classes and Pilates-inspired cardio classes, which is fun, and some just mat Pilates classes. So it's been really great. We opened in May of 2022, so we're coming up on 2 years, and it's been pretty awesome. The community has been really supportive, and just the group of people that we have has been amazing. So yeah, that's kind of my story and how I'm in Regina.
No, that's awesome. Plus, the whole shift from such a huge, not just one, you named 4 huge cities to Regina.
Yeah.
How's the transition for you?
I think really natural. I think their life has a progression, right? I was in a small town and wanted something bigger, did the big thing, and it was fun for a while. And I think we always crave authenticity. So I think coming back to a smaller city where you can connect in more with people and you can really dive into your own personality. You don't feel the pressure to do big things all the time. It's really comforting, and I think it really just enables us to be ourselves, which I really love. So it feels good to be here. I like being in Regina. It's nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you lived in Paris
Yeah.
for a bit. Is that where your fashion comes
No,
from?
actually, it's funny. In school, I was quite the nerd. I was a cool kid nerd. I was president of my Model UN club, but I was always really into fashion. So that's kind of what I focused on through high school, and was just really into art and fashion. That's kind of what I wanted to do with my life. I ended up going into marketing and business, which was a great tool for me when I lived in Los Angeles. My partner and I created a clothing brand, so we did a streetwear men's line, which was really awesome. So I got to use my skills in marketing and business. I owned a fashion store in Anchorage too, so it's been kind of fun actually. The growth of myself in all these different phases have kind of enabled me to open the studio, and I think people know the studio for our aesthetic and how we present ourselves out, and all of those skills I learned in the past 32 years have helped me to get there. It's pretty fun actually to see kind of all these dynamic shifts, and you take different career paths, but they all end up coming together in the end to something you really want to do. So it's been really fun.
So you mentioned the method, a method you created.
Yeah.
So how is that different from everything that you've seen so far?
So we took a lot from our background. So originally Session was myself and 2 other fitness professionals from Regina. We had all worked together previously, and we decided we wanted to keep moving and keep teaching. And in teaching in Regina, it's a pretty small city. We wanted to be sure we weren't stepping on anyone's toes. So we didn't want to teach something like bar or spin because those studios already existed. So we decided to bring something a little bit different, which is challenging in itself, right? So people are like, well, what do you do? And I have to do this big explanation because we can't be like, oh, it's yoga, oh, it's bar. But it's been really fun and really rewarding, kind of in the same way that I just mentioned about building a business. We took from things that we had done. So I'm a trained Pilates instructor. bar background. I had modern dance, sports background, so functional strength. So we kind of took all of our interests and all of our skill sets and created this method that's a little bit different from things that you'll see in Regina. It's cardio and Pilates and functional strength based, but we create movement phrases kind of like in a dance class, which is really fun. The workouts are highly engaging. I feel like you're extremely present through the workout. It's kind of like a mindfulness practice, and we create all these connections between like our brains and our bodies, so neural pathways, lots of energy, and it's been super fun. We also teach rebounding, which is a trampoline based high cardio low impact class, and rebounding classes exist in a ton of different places, right? So we just kind of brought that back to the city. There was a studio that did that for a while, so we expanded on that method and kind of brought in how we teach our mat-based classes. So it's the same method, but on different equipment. And yeah, that's kind of how it came to be.
Right. So you mentioned that you've been in marketing, you've been advertising. Mm-hmm. So you must have thought about the name. What does the name mean?
Actually, originally it was funny. I wanted to call it The Studio.
The Studio.
We wanted something that kind of our whole idea behind our marketing is we want you to imagine yourself in the space. So we didn't want to, brand it something really personal to us. We needed it to be kind of ambiguous and like a session. Like, what are you going to experience in a session? It also turned out that session is the second half of Obsession, which was really funny. A client pointed that out to me actually after we opened. But it's just supposed to be like you're going to come, you're going to spend this time. And we wanted it to just kind of be you imagining yourself in the class. So, yeah. There wasn't a ton of thought. Well, I shouldn't say there wasn't a ton of thought. There was a lot of thought when it came to naming the space. But yeah, that's kind of what we landed on.
I think it's so perfect because it's so simple. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the best marketing companies are the ones who market themselves simply. Like you look at Apple, their logo, their marketing ads and stuff, they're just simple, black and white, but it's very effective.
Makes it easy for you to pivot too, right? So like, especially now, money's tight for people and we have to change and we have to adapt. And, as time goes on, you might not be able to teach the same style of classes. Maybe that's not what people want. So I felt like it was a name that didn't pigeonhole us into doing one thing in particular. And that's kind of the cool thing about our studio is we teach so many different modalities within our space. So like you can come do a restore class, which is like a stretch class. You can do high cardio rebound class. Then you can do like a very heavy grindy powering class. So you can kind of build your weekly repertoire of workouts. You're never going to be doing the same thing over and over and over again. All of our classes are different every time you take them. So it's never the same combination, never the same playlist. Every instructor has their own kind of energy and vibe, but it's all kind of unified in the method, right? So that's always consistent, but you get something different and fresh with every class, which is awesome. So we can add in different modalities. We can take modalities away. So I think it's going to keep us relevant in the city for a while, which is really exciting and very awesome.
So you said the 2-year anniversary is coming up soon.
Yeah.
And it's insane how you've done so much in just the span of sub 2 years.
It
and
feels
no, that's what I'm saying.
So short and so long.
That's what I'm saying. So how's the journey been? Because you see a lot of businesses who take time to blow up to reach that certain level, but you've done it in such a short amount of time. So kudos to you, first of all.
Thank you.
So how's the journey been so far?
It's actually kind of an interesting trajectory. So, I have this great memory of coming to the girl that I started, or one of the girls I started the studio with. I came to her house and I was like, I have this idea. And I had already had this mood board. I had the logo. I had what I wanted to call the classes. And she was like, oh, you have an idea. It looks like a fully fleshed out business plan. At that point, it wasn't. But I was like, we wanted to do a digital platform. Actually, we were like, I didn't want it to be serious. I actually was never my intention to open a fitness studio in the city. I was asked by a lot of clients once the place that we worked at closed, they wanted to move with us still. And I didn't have a place in the city that I wanted to work at. I didn't really want to continue teaching bar. I didn't want to be a personal trainer. It wasn't really interesting to me. So we were like, oh, we'll do an online platform. It'll be totally fine. So that was the plan. And then I started looking at spaces to do filming in. And I was like, well, it's going to cost X amount of dollars to film. Why don't we just do a pop-up? So it turned into from digital to opening a space. We actually partnered with another local gym in the city called the Boiler Room on Dewdney. Marjorie, their owner, super nice lady, very into female empowerment, very much a small business woman, very entrepreneurial minded. we ended up renting her like hot yoga room, very small. It was probably like 600 feet long by like 400 feet wide. It fit like nothing. It was very unglamorous, but we were like, we can fit 7 mats in here. Let's just do it. We'll do a pop-up and see, if we can get some traction. So I designed the Instagram, we did the website, and I did kind of a soft launch, and it blew up. We had so much interest right off the hop, which was awesome. And I didn't have intentions of like hiring a board of directors. I really wanted this to be a casual thing.
Right.
So it was all self-funded. And then we did a pass sale called the Founding Members Pass. It was a 50 class pack for $700. And if you bought that, you got a free sweatshirt and you would be like one of our OG members. And that like funded my entire startup. So I owe those 12 people so much. Most of them still come to the studio, but they made it possible for us to open. So, I started our POS system, and we did our booking system, and we got all of our props and our equipment all with that money. So they really made it possible for us to open, which is awesome. So we opened that May 30th of 2022. And we were packed. And it was hard to get to that gym. You had to like scan a key code, and you had to walk down the stairs and walk through someone else's gym to get to our space. So the people who came were really, really dedicated. And again, I owe our community everything. They've made this all possible. But yeah, I was like, I think I'm just going to start looking for a space. What would it look like if I took this bigger? Because it was paying for itself. And I was like, okay, I think we could do this. This could be a real thing. There could be some traction here. So then I started looking for spaces. And if you know anything about fitness studios that play loud music, it is so hard to find a space because you have to soundproof. You have to either have a standalone building that has no one close by. There's a lot of parameters, and we had a pretty tough time finding things. And then I found the building that's on Winnipeg, the one that we're in now. It was an old dog training facility, which is great for us, actually. We have a big tie-in to dog rescues in the city. And it ended up just kind of being perfect. So my husband and I took on the project. He project managed it. We demoed and did all of our construction in less than 3 months, which was pretty crazy. And we opened in November of 2022 on the 15th, which was awesome. So since then, it's just like gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And honestly, this year has been insane. We were doing pretty well. Yeah, like projections were great. Like we were over our business plan models. Like it was pretty exciting. I never expected to grow into the space that we're in right now. We have 25 mats right now. We started with 7, and we're still waitlisted and packed, and people are interested and intrigued, and it's been awesome. And I've done no paid marketing.
Can we make some room for us too?
Yeah.
On the wait list?
I'm on 27.
I would love to have you guys.
No, we have to try. Trust me. My cardio sucks though.
Yeah, get on the trampoline. But yeah, it's been crazy. I really never expected to grow into that space. I thought we'd have like 5-6 years of like building. And again, no marketing. Like this has been all word of mouth. But that's kind of my outlook. I wanted to position my brand as like a very welcoming, but very not quite aspirational, but like aesthetically really beautiful, but really welcoming to everyone. And that's kind of our tagline, is like movement for everybody. Like you can come, it doesn't matter how old, how young, male, female, whatever gender you are, and it's a safe space. Like we will be there to support you. Ethos marketing all the way. Like it's all about how it feels. So people walk in and you can feel an energy in our studio. It's very much the people. Everyone on my team has been selected for a very specific reason. They make people feel so welcome and so great. And that, I mean, we'll talk about it, I'm sure, later, but the reason that I opened the studio is very much alive in the space. It feels very magical. So it's been really amazing to see the growth, and the award that I won this year, I think made a lot of that possible. I think we got a lot of like word of mouth from that too. But people keep coming, and it's been awesome. So that's kind of it. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you mentioned like the place is magical.
Yeah.
So how would you explain that?
Okay. So when I thought about opening this space, I had kind of a traumatic exit from the last place that I worked. Obviously I immigrated to Canada, and it's hard, as I think I got here when I was 27 turning 28 maybe. Yeah, I think so. And as an adult, as a female, when you're not in school and you're not working, because obviously I wasn't immigrated yet, I was just kind of visiting until I got PR during COVID, which was a nightmare. But like, how do you meet people? You know, I moved here, my husband lived here. I didn't know anyone, and what do you do? So I started going to a fitness studio, and I was going like 4 times a day because I needed some semblance of community. I just wanted to be somewhere where there were people, where I could talk to other women who were like interested in the same things that I was interested in. It made me feel more at home. Like I felt more welcomed in a very new place. So over that 3-year span, I built a community for myself, right? I met people, I met friends, and that was kind of taken away from me in I'll say just a kind of a traumatic way. So when that all ended, I felt like I no longer had community. So when we opened the space, it was my first intention to create a space of belonging. I think there's plenty of gyms, and they all say like, oh, you can be here, we've got this great community. But I think the purpose of coming together and doing something that's like a blanket interest for all the clients, like if you love to spin, then you meet people who love to spin, and it becomes kind of your core group, right? I wanted a space where people could come and feel welcomed and feel loved, and if you're having a terrible day, you can go to that space and know that like you're gonna see someone who knows your name, who like knows about your life, who takes an interest in what you're doing. And that's what we do. Every single person who comes to the door, and I'm not kidding, I'm so thankful for anyone who walks into my space. Trying something new is so incredibly scary, and trying a new gym where you can't really decipher what you're going to be doing, terrifying. And those people, every time they walk in, like, it is my top priority to figure out who they are, how to pronounce their name, how to spell their name, what they like, what they don't like, what their mobility level is. If they've got injuries, how can I tailor their experience? It's all about them. It's never about me. It's never about my instructors. It's always about the people who walk in the doors. And I hate calling them clients. They're just people who support us, really. Like I say in my classes all the time, I cannot believe people show up for these classes. Like it still blows my mind.
To this day?
To this day. Every time I walk into class, I'm like awestruck that people are there. And maybe you're like this, but I feel like everything that I do is terrible. And I think maybe that's why I always am growing, is because it can always be better. I can always do more. It's never enough. And I'm like, man, I can't believe people are like doing this thing that I like put together. It just feels so bizarre.
So it's like imposter syndrome every single day.
Every single day, in the best way, right? Like,
no, of course, yeah.
I've grown into it, but it's, I wanted it to be a space where people felt really good. So talking about like that magic, it is in my training manual that I will protect the energy of my space over anything else, right? So the people who work there are, again, selected for a very specific reason. They're special humans. I will train anyone, even if they have no fitness background, if they're the right personality. I think maybe that's the difference, is I've chosen people that have no ego, who love people, who make people feel good, because first and foremost, this space is a place to belong. Second, it's a fitness studio, and that will always be my mentality on it. So yeah, the magic is there. It's a vibration, you can feel it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So we had a guest yesterday. Her name was Jessica, and she had this amazing marketing company called Memory Keeper.
Oh yeah.
And we had a conversation about the same thing, that I asked her that, everybody has that self-doubt that they're not enough.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Does that push you, or does it pull you down?
I think it depends on how you internalize it, right? Like, I think if it's imposter syndrome where you feel like you can never grow to that level, that's probably really debilitating. I think if you're someone who likes that challenge and who will adapt and grow to like meet that challenge, it's a really empowering thing, right? If you find that the things that you do are good as is, you'll never grow, right? Like, why? Why would you grow if you don't have to? But the imposter, I say that maybe it's not quite imposter syndrome, but it's like, it's weird. It's weird that people like the thing that I'm doing, right? Because for me, I'm like, oh, it could be better, or like every single time I walk into the space, I'm like, that's dirty, or oh, this should be there, or I wish my classes felt like this. But it helps me because I always look for more education. My classes get better. I get better as an instructor, as a business owner, as an employer. Like, I learn every day, I fail every day, I make mistakes every day. But my mentality is I take those as gifts and I implement change, and then we grow. It's really awesome. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. This reminds me of like this amazing reel that I saw yesterday, like on Instagram. So it's by David Goggins, and he was talking like this. I think he was on a podcast. So he was talking like his host that the day that you feel like you've achieved it, or like you're there, that's the day you should be the most afraid. Yeah. Because like, of course, like, he's David Goggins. I mean, of course he's never gonna stop. But at the same time, like, he tells like that message to every single person. The day you're getting closer to like, hey, I think I got there, be afraid. Make it a goal. Exactly, because you have to have this mindset that the top of the mountain is the bottom of another one.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what do we do when we get to the top? We're done.
Yeah.
Like
what
you've
do you
done.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like what's next? And I think there are people who like get to the top and they're like, oh, it's time to come down. People are like, what's the next mountain? Where's the next mountain? Right?
Exactly.
Like I think that's the difference in, entrepreneurs, business owners, people who want to achieve things, educators, people who are academics. You get to that level and you're like, I'm here. Now what? Now what? Instead of, okay, we did it. Right. So then now what is the important part?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you mentioned last time you met that you don't sleep a lot because you're always working, always on the go. How are you so energetic?
I think it's my personality. I've got pretty severe ADHD. So I think it helps that I'm a creative at heart, right? So I like creating things. And I think my energy comes from being able to put things out into the world. Like, I think we talked about it last time we met. I don't like being the forefront of something. I like being the one in the back, like working the wires. Like, I like creating and then giving it away, or, just being behind the scenes. And I think my energy comes from just like wanting to do the next thing, or like what's next. And I get a lot of energy from teaching, and it feels almost like a performance, right? Like, it's not a performance in the sense that I'm not myself, but you get out in front of people and you're leading them, like you're giving them something to do. They're like feeling it. So I taught 2 classes this morning, and I was tired this morning. So tired, I was really, really tired this morning. I got there, I didn't have time to make a coffee. As soon as I started teaching, it's like you fall into your passion, right? So like I got there and just talking about, alignment and like what muscles were working, and watching people hit these goals and seeing that moment of discovery in their body is like intoxicating. Like, it brings me so much joy. And to be able to wake up every day, and as a business owner, you wear many, many hats. I'm sure every business owner who listens to this will be like, absolutely, it sucks some days. Like, you wake up, you do work, you do work, and then you do work, and then you do work, and then work's over, then you go home and you do work, and you wake up and it's work. But it's a gift because we get to do the thing that we love doing, and hopefully you continue to love that, or find things about those that you love. But yeah, just watching people get it is energizing for me. So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it feels like work to others, but it's play for you because you love doing it, right?
It still feels like work. Don't get me wrong. It feels like work. There are days where I'm like, oh, my body is going to break. I mean, in the beginning, I was teaching like 5 classes a day, 4 days a week, 5 days a week. That's like, insane. Taught 700 classes last year. It's a lot, right? Like, no one should work out that much. But when you're new, you do what you have to do. And now I can like ease up a little bit. I've got 13 instructors. I get to step back and enjoy what I've built. I teach when I want, I cover when I want, and now I get to grow the business, which is really exciting. So there's like phases when you open something. Yeah.
Have you ever suffered with any like serious injuries? Because if you're pushing yourself so much, you must have gotten injured, right?
You probably noticed my voice is very raspy. My voice has never been this low before in my life. I use my voice a lot, and I have vocal cord scarring. So in the beginning, I didn't really know what I was doing with audio, and my levels were too low. So I was pretty much screaming all day, every day, and my voice has dropped like 2 decibels. It's really low, really gravelly. I think I've got like a very sexy phone operator voice now, but it is quite low. And for a while I was having trouble talking. Like, I would teach all week, and then by Saturday I could barely talk. And I had one day where I woke up, I went to go teach my class, and of course you're not talking right when you wake up. Like, I wasn't talking to anyone. I got to work and I tried to talk and nothing came out. And I had stressed my vocal cords out so much that I couldn't talk, and no one can teach my Pilates class. I've got no coverage for it because I'm the only like trained Pilates instructor. And I taught a class with no music, barely being able to get words out. Like, I could not talk. So that's been my only like real injury. I take care of my body relatively well, but a vocal injury is debilitating for me. And it was hard because I like communicating and I like talking, but that's been a crazy one. It was like how much you use your voice. So yeah, that's my only injury so far.
Like, I've seen this on your Instagram as well, like on both the session page and like your personal page as well, that you are in every single workout. Like almost like every time that I see, like, you're always like teaching, always like with like your clients and everything. Yeah. And you don't see a lot of leaders doing that. Like, you see like some leaders that take a step back and just observe. Yeah. So what's your idea of like an ideal leader in your business?
I like to be very involved with my business because I feel like it's personal to me. And I think we talked about this before. That studio is very much like a physical representation of who I am as a person, right? It's welcoming. It looks kind of like
oh, it is pretty cool.
Like
it is pretty cool. Yeah.
It's a thing. Like it's my aesthetic, but it's very welcoming. I love people and I love making them feel good. I am obsessed with body dynamics. I like love corporal things. So the space to me is very much me. So I don't teach every class. Obviously I could never do that. I would teach like 7 classes a day. That would kill me. But I am present at the studio all day. Typically I get there. I hate 6 a.m.s. I'm not a morning girly really, but I get there every day around like 7:30, 8, and I'm there probably till 9:30, 10 p.m. I take a little break in the middle of the day. But I love being in that space. And I think clients love it because I know them and it is very personal and it feels authentic because I'm there. I think that a lot of businesses fail because they're not involved enough. My space is, well, I think I have a really good relationship with my team. I have a really great relationship with my clients. They know me, I know them, and it feels good. I think if I was to take a bigger step away, it might not feel the same. And maybe that's not giving my team or my space enough credit, but I think being a permanent fixture there has been great for us because it's my vision. So why not be there for the experience? Yeah. I couldn't teach all the classes though. Never. I tried in the beginning, but not anymore. Just not for me.
So what has been your biggest challenge in running that studio?
To be honest, I think just learning as I go. Like, I'm obviously not a sound tech. I'm not like, it was a lot of just discovery. I haven't had any like massive challenges that felt like they were insurmountable. I think staffing was an issue in the beginning because I was being very selective with who I wanted to bring on. I had a lot of really great instructors who wanted to work for me, and I was like, it's just not a good fit. And I think people got frustrated with me. My instructors got a little bit frustrated because I was so hesitant to bring people on. So in protecting the space, the staffing was challenging. But nothing really other than that. Construction was hard, but we haven't had any like big hiccups really. I think the challenge is just staying on top of things, as we get busier, as we get bigger, I want to still maintain that feeling of authenticity, maintain that feeling of knowing everyone. And that gets to be challenging when you have 250, 300 clients. It's not easy. It's not easy to know everyone's names, but it's very important. So scaling the business has been challenging in the best way, but challenging, I guess. So.
You say you're like a people person. You can completely see that from like everything that you do. So when you just mentioned right now that when you were hesitant to bring people on, like you had some frustration between you and like the staff, there was like a little of a tadpole. How do you deal with that?
My management style is very, very empathetic. So my idea in leading people or being a leader is learning how to communicate in everyone's style, right? Like if you have a blanket communication style, it's never gonna vibe. And in saying that, they were frustrated. They weren't really frustrated. Right, it was just, they couldn't teach more classes than they were teaching, and then I was teaching so much. But in my studio, I tell my staff how special they are at every opportunity I can get, because I think that you don't get enough recognition when you do a great job, and they're little things like, they stay extra to clean. I'm like, man, I really appreciate you doing this, because it means a lot to me. It takes so much off my plate, but it's something that we could easily brush off. Like, oh, they stayed for 10 extra minutes. Like, but that's 10 extra minutes, right? Like if they're teaching a 45-minute class, it's like, 20% of their time there. So at every opportunity, I tell them how much they mean to me, how much they matter. And I try really hard to deal with conflicts before they arise, right? So we have a couple things that we implement for feedback. And it's funny, one of my employees was like, I use this in my management role and it's been really helpful, but we don't give feedback unless it's asked for. And if you're giving feedback, you have to ask for permission. So say someone came to your class, say I came to a class and I had something to say to an employee, I'd come up and be like, hey, great class, compliment sandwich, great class. We have some things we want to work on, but I want to talk to you about this. Are you ready to accept some feedback or not right now? So we have a culture that like we only say something positive unless people accept the feedback, right? So instead of coming in like, oh, you could have done this differently, or like, I didn't like how you did that, you're like, hey, great class. Would you be open to hearing my thoughts on what you did? And if they're like, no, not right now, they wouldn't accept what you had to say anyway if they weren't ready to hear it. So we ask for permission and then we give the feedback. Because I think that you can talk at someone, but if they're not ready to hear it, they won't hear it anyway. So you just create frustration and you create conflict and a lot of times resentment and like that employee-employer dynamic. And in saying so, like, we don't really have that in my studio. Like, I have contract workers, like I'm the business owner and they're all contract workers. So we all have a relatively similar like hierarchy in the studio. It's all here, right? Like I'm here, they're here, we stay here. And I expect them to be adults and do what they need to do. And if they don't, we deal with it very quickly. And I tell them, like, you have to just take accountability. Like, I'll never fire someone. They have to walk away. You know, it's one of those things like, hey, can you come back from this? If not, you need to take yourself out of the equation. So we have a very like respect all around kind of culture. And they know that when they come on, which is really nice. And that's, again, why I'm so picky with who I hire, because it has to be people who are able to thrive within that management style.
You know, it reminds me of like this amazing thing that you just said. I think we talked about this person, Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
So he's like this great businessman, orator and everything. He has like that style of leadership as well. He gave an example of like two different managers or two different bosses who goes up to like their employee and says, hey, your sales are down, do something about it, or there's going to be some trouble thrown at you. On the other hand, there's people who come up to you like a manager and is like, hey, your sales are down, are you okay? It's just as simple as asking that question. Like when you mentioned about that feedback thing, like when a person is frustrated, even if you tell them something, it goes from here, exactly, right? Out the other ear. But that simple question of, are you okay? Can I do something to help you out? That style of leadership is missing so much. And I think you're incorporating that is insane.
It's been awesome. I mean, I don't want to speak for my staff, but I think they're all pretty happy. We've had no turnover in 2 years, right? So it's very much like we operate as like a team. We are a team. We talk in a text thread. Like we all come to each other's classes. We support each other. It feels, again, it's a place of belonging. They know that if they're going to be a leader in the community that we've built, they have to be that type of person. There's no room for ego. We don't compare ourselves to other people there. You come in, you are hired because you are who you are. So stay who you are. There's no competition, which is pretty rare in a fitness industry space. There's always competition, right? Like whose classes fill more? Like what time frames do you have? We don't do that. It's very much like you come, you're perfect as you are. We can always get better in certain things, but like you don't need to change who you are. And if there's little things, like they're dealt with immediately. I come up to them like, hey, let's just chat. It's not a bad thing. Let's just try to change this. And if they're not willing, I hear them and I say, okay, I can understand that. Let's like maybe find middle ground. So it's a lot of communication. It's a lot of figuring people out. And again, going back to communication styles, every person on my team is different, but I know how they communicate. But it takes a lot of time and again, a lot of investment and a lot of like being present at your space to be able to manage that. And so as a manager or someone who staffs people, spending time in your space and spending time in the trenches with your people is the most important thing you can do.
And that's why the 18-hour work weeks.
Yeah, worth it. Every single
work
time.
days, actually. Sorry, not even weeks. Work days.
Wish. No, I don't wish. I love it.
No, 100%. Yeah.
But yeah, just again, it goes back to being involved. The more involved you are and the more ingrained you are in the culture, the more control you have over the outcomes, which has been really helpful for me.
Right. So I'll ask you something.
Yeah.
So I remember the last time we talked, you said that there was a lot of competition when you started out the studio, and your main idea is to be authentic.
Yeah.
Which is like the most difficult thing, especially when you're starting out, because there's people who are in the space and who are telling you what to do. How do you stay authentic after all those voices around you?
It's funny. Here's a really great example. So as I'm, getting bigger, we're thinking about opening a second location. So I've started to like brand all of our training stuff, and I built this like beautiful training manual for our rebound method. It's awesome. I was so proud of it. It took me so long. And I showed it to my husband. My husband's like, you have that in a digital version. You're sending that out to people. And I was like, yeah, why not? He's like, well, they can just send it anywhere. Anyone can copy this. And I was like, good, go ahead. They can't replicate what we do. Like you can teach the same exact class. You can teach the class that we teach, but it's not going to feel the same. And again, that's the magic of the space. I wouldn't mind giving my manual to anyone in the city. I don't care. Do it. Open a studio, please. Please open a studio. See how hard it is and then talk to me. Like, it's hard. It's rewarding. But like someone taking my idea, sure. Like instructors taking my classes and doing them elsewhere means my method's effective. I'm cool with that. I want people to find something that they love. If they love my classes and want to do them somewhere else, do it. Go ahead. I'm okay with that. We pull so much inspiration from other studios and from other instructors and from great instructors and Instagram and whatever. Like nothing is truly unique. Nothing is totally in your control. Like we use inspiration even subconsciously. So like it would be silly to say that my method is like my own and like I've created this thing. It's not. It's an amalgamation of a lot of my interests and a lot of ideas from other places. And there was competition in like the community sense. But again, that's why I wanted to do something that wasn't in direct competition to anyone else. I actually wanted to have like a citywide class pass where all of these studios would work together. You could buy into a class pass and go to each studio. I think it's important to do other modalities. All of my clients know that like, I'm not mad if you go to any other studio in town, do it. If it feels good in your body, that's what I want for you. Like we want what's best for our people. And I think in being authentic, right? Like I know what I'm doing is good. Like I'm not going to shift because someone else thinks I'm going to shift. It's been successful. What I'm doing works. And it's, again, like blows my mind. I can't believe it. But like, why try to do something else? I'm telling my instructors to be themselves. Why not be myself? Like, this is my thing. You know, if you stand by your thing, that's like how it feels good. As soon as we start to shift it because we think we should shift because someone else is doing this, then like, what's the point of having your own space? I don't know. Yeah. But it was hard in the beginning. I think Regina is big enough to host 20, 30, 40, 50 different studios, right? Like we have 200 people who normally come to our studio in a week. There are, 370,000 people here? There can be so many studios. There's enough people to fill every studio. Why are we in such competition? It doesn't make sense to me. And that's just kind of how we operate. We stay authentic because we want people to go tons of different places. And if we're in this lane, we'll stay in this lane, and that's it. Yeah.
So gatekeeping is like something that never crosses your mind.
No.
Because that clearly shows like you're the complete opposite of it.
Yeah.
Like why gatekeep, right?
Why gatekeep?
Exactly.
I mean, it's funny. I have one of my employees who wants to do Pilates training, and I was like, absolutely. I want to share everything with them. I want them to have all these tools. I want everyone to know about the body. Like, why would I keep that for myself?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the crazy thing. Like I get trade secrets and stuff. That's fine. Like the way that we do things. Like I don't care. Anyone can have that information. It's what you do with that information and how you put it into use, right? And I think that's the interesting thing is like anyone can have a gym. Anyone can have a fitness studio. It's like the you that you inject into it that makes it special.
Right.
So yeah, I'm never for gatekeeping. I want everyone to know everything. I want them to use it.
Right.
Take it. Use it.
It's like I heard this on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I think Joe Rogan is the one who said it. It's like there's cake for everybody at the table.
Absolutely. There's so much cake.
Exactly.
There's so much cake. There's cake everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. I think when we get nervous about things like that, it just shows a lack of confidence in what we're doing. Right. And it's like selling a product. If you're selling Girl Scout cookies, there are so many doors. If someone's in your neighborhood and you're like, oh, I can't sell to these houses, there's another neighborhood right over there. Right. Yeah. Like even though we're not the biggest city in the world, there's plenty of people to go around. There's plenty of people who might not go to a gym that you can target, and you can get interested in these things, and you create classes if there are not classes for those people. Like we just introduced a trampoline class because there are some people who are scared to bounce on the trampoline. So now we have one that you just use it as a prop. You step up onto it, you work on your balance, but it's because there's a group of people that want that. So adapt, find your people, market to those people, and do your thing. There's plenty of us to go around. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Nikhil and I follow this guy. His name is Alex Hormozy, and he's like a very like to the point, cutthroat kind of guy. But like he has like this amazing ideology. He says when the day people stop copying you is when you should be worried.
Yeah.
Because when people are copying you, that means you're doing something great.
Absolutely.
And you're worried about like, oh, like they're gonna steal my idea, dude. Like that's the point. Like they're following you. Yeah. And you already have the answers. They're just taking like bits and pieces of it.
You're 3 steps ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. But if they stop copying you, then you're like, hey, I'm gonna step up my game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying though. Like people can take my method. I'm not scared because I do it like me the best. Right? Then that's kind of the thing. Like,
and you do it for yourself.
Yeah. The space it's very self-serving. Like my space was created because I wanted a community of people. That being said, it is for the community. Like the things that I do and what we offer is for the people who come there. But like, I wanted that space. I wanted a place that was beautiful. I wanted a place that felt good. It was very self-serving for me, and it's still self-serving. Like I get to talk to incredible humans every day. I have an amazing team. Like I could not be happier with what I've built for myself. So, if at the end of the day, everyone opens a gym that's just like mine, that's fine. But it's my happy space, and I'm really proud of it. And I love what it does for the community. I like that we've got a reach and that we support local organizations and we are active in the community as a whole. Like we have our own internal studio community, but then we all work together to make Regina a better place too, which I think is really special. And the people who go to the gym love that about us because it's about making ourselves healthier, about our community healthier, our city healthier, and just like people in general, like better, like do good things, do nice things, be kind, love your body, learn about it. Like that's what it's all about. I don't want to stop doing that. So yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So this is a question that we ask like almost all of our guests, that what gets you out in the morning? Like what's your why? What's one thing that like really, really drives you?
Honestly, like again, it's very selfish. I like watching people like make discoveries and grow. Like one of my favorite things about coming to class or teaching a class or being present in my space is watching people, that like moment where something small clicks. Like that is like, it's like a drug to me. It is so incredible. And I celebrate those like crazy. Like we have a girl who comes to the space and I'm meeting with her today. She's like become a very big part of my life. She walked into my space and she is like a self-proclaimed larger body, and she was looking for a place to go, and she walked in like a huge chip on her shoulder, like, I'm just trying out your gym, like I'm just trying to do this thing. I love my body, don't try to change me, but I need to lose X amount of pounds for this reason. And I was like, if that's your goal, sure, like I'm not here, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. Like I'm just here to get you to love your body and love movement, and if you lose weight because of it, great, it's because you're going to be consistent. But if that's your goal, sure, I'm not trying to change you. And from that moment, it like just clicked with us. She was like, oh shit, like it's not like there's no weirdness about body size or type. And she has lost a lot of weight because she's doing, it's her journey, I won't talk about it, but she's working towards this goal for X amount of reasons. But when you're a bigger body and you lose a lot of weight, your center balance changes, right? Like when our bodies change, smaller, bigger, whatever, we have to relearn where our core is. And watching those moments for her where it like turns on, where she's like, that's it, I can feel it here. And it's just like incredible. And I'm going to train her to teach now. Like it's been such an amazing journey, but those little discoveries, and like she walks to the class and she's like, did you see my side plank? Look at how strong I'm getting. It's like those little moments, huge non-scale victories. That's like, to me, like it makes me so emotional. Like it is so incredible. Like our bodies are like deep ocean, right? We know that there's stuff in there, but like those moments where we're like, oh, we found this thing, or like, look at this new discovery. It's so cool. It's like infinite, the amount of discovery we can make about our own bodies, and we like live in them. There are vessels, but so much undiscovered space. So yeah, those moments are like what get me into that space. I love it. And the education and getting to see people happy, like walking out and just being like, man, they leave feeling so damn good. And that is, and maybe this is too much to say, I suffer from depression, pretty severe depression, and to be able to give someone that feeling that I so desperately crave is like a gift. Like to watch people walk out and just feel so full and so good, man, that's everything. It feels amazing to watch people have that. So yeah, there are a lot of reasons, and it's beautiful, and and I created it, so it's nice. There's a lot of reasons.
I love that. The only thing I'll change is saying selfish. I think I should change it to like selfless, because that is not selfish at all. I don't know where you got selfish from.
It serves me though, right? Like it's selfish in the sense that it serves me in a very large way. I know it's like a good selfishness, but it's still selfish, right? Like
Sure.
it's for me.
Right.
I do the things because they make me feel good. It's not selfless. If I didn't care about me, I probably wouldn't do this in the first place.
Right.
I'm self-proclaimed selfish, but in a great way, I guess. So
Right.
I feel like it's coming back to the cake idea. You're the one who's making the cake and you enjoy making the cake, but everybody enjoys eating it.
yeah, it's like when you eat while you're cooking and you're not hungry. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Just
like
gotta
dipping my
taste,
hand in
gotta
the
taste,
batters, and then I'm like, okay, you guys can have the actual cake. I'm just eating all the parts. So you just clean up the scraps and clean up after, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons. Again, I think if you're lucky enough to find something you're passionate about, I think that's the biggest thing for most people is like they never find their passion. Like they find careers because they think they should do this, or it makes a lot of money, or their parents did it, or they have a business already. Like that's fine. But if you don't take risks and you don't try new things and you don't like jump from career to career or like just make changes, you never find the thing that like sets your soul on fire, right? Like I've done a lot of different jobs, and like I said, all those skill sets have led me to what I have now. But if I would have stayed in one path, I wouldn't have this. You know what I mean? If I hadn't left the US, I wouldn't have a gym. I was never going to open a studio. The reason I have a studio is because I went to that studio when I had immigrated here, right? Like there are all these experiences that we have as people. And when you find something you love, just lean into it, man. Like just let it fill you up. Go after your passion. And then if you're one of the lucky ones that gets to do that as your job, oh my God, so cool. Like every day is a gift, even when it's hard, because I have the thing that lights my soul on fire and I get to do it every day. And that's awesome. So awesome.
So what's the one piece of advice you would give to somebody who comes up to you and is like, okay, I'm not able to find my passion. I'm stuck. Like I'm doing what I'm doing for XYZ reasons, but that's not what I want to do. Yeah. I'm stuck. Rachel, help me out. So like, what's the one piece of advice you would tell that person?
I'd ask the first question, like, what are you scared of? Like, what is your fear? Is it financial? Is it like self-doubt? What is your fear? Mm-hmm. And then I'd say, what are your interests? Like, what are you interested in? In everyone's mind, there's always that thing like, I wish I could do this, right? Yeah. No one is like, I don't know what I want to do. There's always something that you like enough that you're like, I could do that. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's outlandish. Like, say you want to be a doctor. Guess what? It's never too late to go to school. You know what I mean? Like, there are all these opportunities that we can take. If you have like that inkling and you're unhappy, like life is so short. It's so way too short to be unhappy, especially in your career. We spend like a third of our lives working. Like we spend so many hours doing it. If you're not happy in some way with your career, make a change. Go back to school. Try new things. Talk to people who do different jobs than you. Go to entrepreneur fairs. Like go to things like SIPE here. Like there's young entrepreneurship groups. You can talk to business professionals. You have to be open to change first, right? If you want something different and you're not open to actually doing something to make that change, you're never going to do it anyway. And then you just have to be open to the risk. Like, what's the worst that can happen if you're already unhappy? Like, the saddest thing is like when I see people complaining about like the Sunday scaries, I'm like, oh, are you kidding? Like, if you are scared to go back to your job, why are you doing it? Like, if you don't have some reason to show up every day, like, what's the point? And maybe that's like the like millennial Gen Z kind of thing is like, if you don't love what you do something else or don't do it. I watched my dad work at a job he hated and then go bankrupt in a business, but at least he tried something. Like he found his passion, he wanted to do it, it didn't go well, but guess what, he got back to doing something that he loved later. He went bankrupt and then guess what, became a real estate agent, and now he owns real estate companies in Alaska. So it's one of those things, like, you're gonna fail. That's just like a truth of life. If you're too scared to fail, you're never gonna find what you love.
You know, this reminds me of an amazing quote from J.K. Rowling. She was giving this commencement speech at, I think, Cambridge. Yeah. And she said a quote that if you don't fail, you failed by default.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're not failing every day, that means you're not growing.
Yeah. It's like taking the easy path, right? Like there's always like a pre-cut path, but it's the most boring one. Like you're on that paved trail up the mountain. If you're not going to go like cut through the bushes, like you're not going to find cool stuff. You're not going to have pictures that are different from anyone else's. It's like, that's the path. And it's not a failure, I think, to take the easy way. Some people don't want to do the hard way. But if you want to do something for you and something exciting and something that's really self-satisfying and fulfilling, you've gotta be open to failing every single day. Every day. I fail like every hour. I mess things up all the time. And I think, again, it like goes back to what your perspective is on it. Like, is that failure going to set you back for the day? Or are you going to look at it and say, okay, that happened. What's next? How are we going to fix it? And I think you have those opportunities throughout the day, every single day. So, yeah.
You know what I love about your answer is that you said people should be open to failure and they should be open to taking that risk. One thing that, like, of course, like, I'm not perfect by any like any stretch of the imagination, but like one thing that I don't like about people is when they're like complaining but also willing to stay where they are.
Yeah.
That's something that like completely like screws up my mind. Is like, you told me the answer right now, but you're just not willing to do it.
Well, no one wants to admit that they're too lazy to do the thing that's going to make them happy. That sounds so shitty, but it's true.
But it's true,
yeah. Like, I think there are all things that we hate about stuff, but like, it's like complaining to make noise, right? Like, you want people to know that you're unhappy, but then like, what's the solution? You're not willing to do it.
Right.
And like, that's fine. We can complain that we put ourselves in situations that we can't change ourselves, or we can change that we are just not willing to change, but that's on us. That's not on anyone else, right? Like, you can hate your manager or hate your job, but guess what? Complaining about them every day isn't going to change your situation. Like, you got to take it into your own hands. And there are some people who will and some people who won't, and that's okay. But yeah, complaining is hard to hear.
And I read like this amazing quote somewhere that the victim's mindset will have you dancing with the devil, but complaining you're in hell.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, in the end, like, you have the keys, you have the answers. Like, David Goggins says this too, like, the real cause of you staying in one position is failure. Like, how badly do you want it? Like, if you want your passion, like if you want to lift X amount of weights, or like if you want to, like, you know, go for a 10K run, how badly do you want it? You could spend 6 years doing it and failing just because you're not willing to put all that effort in.
Yeah. I think, like, I don't know. I think that people just don't want to admit that they don't want to do the work. Doing the work is not fun. There are lots of things about doing the work that are not fun. Sometimes that work is harder than the thing that you're complaining about, right? Like, it is an uphill battle. It takes a while for things to feel good, and those changes take a long time to be implemented, and you might start something new and you have to gain a skill set that takes years, right? And I think the thing that holds a lot of people back is that fear, right? Either fear of change or incredible self-doubt, or feeling like even if they did what they want to do, it wouldn't go well, right? So again, like, there are different types of people in this world. There are people who are open to kind of the chaos of saying, like, let's just try it. Like, universe got my back or whatever. But yeah, you have to have self-confidence in yourself that, like, if it fails, no matter what happens, you'll be okay. And I think that that's not everyone. That's a scary outlook on life. It's like, anything can happen, and no matter what, I'll figure it out. And I think that that's kind of a rarity. And people sometimes just like the security of an easy choice, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But the complaining part of it is hard, because that's a little bit frustrating. I can see that.
Do you get scared?
I think sometimes like I said, I am very much a self-hater. I don't ever think what I do is good enough. I'm not scared, though. My life has been very much like that. Like, I live out of 2 suitcases. Like, I could pack my life up in 5 minutes, and I like that. Like, I'll hop on a plane and go to a different country for like 2 days, or I've always traveled alone. I don't want kids. Like, I like the ability to make very quick, very impulsive decisions, which, again, that's why I'm in Regina. You know, that's how I've lived my life forever. So I don't have that fear at all, because I know I'll be okay. Like, I've done it before. I'll do it again. But I think it's also because I put myself in those positions where I've had to learn that I can do that. It's probably not the most responsible way of life, but it's been really great for me. So, yeah.
Well, it's been working great for you.
Yeah, now. Maybe not in the past, right? Like, I made a lot of stupid decisions, but like, I'm 32 now. And yeah, I wouldn't change anything. So that's probably good.
But honestly, like, coming back to following your passion, you said that a lot of people need to figure out the passion. Yeah. A lot of people know what their passion is. Yeah. It's just that not everybody is willing to put 80 hours a week like you.
Yeah. Well, then start small. Have it be a hobby. You know, like, you can do things on the side too. Like, you don't have to fully commit to something. Like, I remember when I got my Pilates training done, The reason I did it was because I wanted to be better at my job. I was teaching bar. I wanted more information about body mechanics. And I was like, I'm just going to pay for this. And it was very expensive. And I knew I was going to get no return on investment because I wasn't going to get paid more at my job. I wasn't going to get a raise, or my job description wasn't going to change. But I was really interested. I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to be a better leader for my clients. I wanted to be able to answer their questions in an educated way. And because I did that, I was able to open my space and have some sort of certification behind me. Like those things started out as just interests. I was passionate about the education aspect of it, but it's become the backbone of my business. So you can try things that you are interested in on the side, and they can be small things until you decide you want to make them into something bigger. And we have time for hobbies. We have time to scroll Netflix or Instagram. Like, you've got time for meaningful hobbies. So yeah, do it. If your passion is there, make it small, then make it bigger. I don't know.
No, that's really cool. Yeah, that got me thinking too.
Yeah. Right? Like, it's like you guys with this podcast. It started out as an idea, and then you learned little things and you started doing it, and now you're doing it. Like, that's kind of it. Like, we want to do it, we learn the stuff, and then we do it. That's like the trajectory of any interest or passion that becomes something that we actually do. And you guys did it. So the question arises, why did you do it? What got you here? It's always the same thing. It's passion.
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, like this, we don't have any intentions of making money or anything. It's just that inner intuition that, man, I love this. I love having these conversations with people.
Isn't it awesome?
Yeah.
It's so good. It sets your soul on fire, and you get to do it whenever you want to do it, and it brings so much meaning, right? That's like the magic part of it. I like that.
That's awesome.
So what's your future plan for the studio or in general in life?
Basic answer, I have no idea. We just hit like capacity under 2 years, right? So I mentioned that we started out with 7 mats. We have a pretty large studio space. If you've ever been to a studio, it's quite big. I never thought we would fill it. During our last challenge, we had full classes and full wait lists. Every single class on our schedule, which was insane to me. 25 people in class, max 20 on the wait list. We had 45 people for 8 classes a day wanting to come to the space. That is insane to me. So right now we have a capacity problem. It always calms down during non-challenge times, obviously, and in summer. But I'm at the point where I have to decide whether I want to open a second location in the city, like have a rebounding studio and a mat studio, or if I want to stay in our space. We can't expand our space at all. It's very hard to find a standalone building in Regina. It's expensive to do the remodeling and the demo and all of that. I'll never franchise my space because, again, I think that there's something really magical about how personal the space is. I would have to be very involved in any second location that we did. So right now I'm just kind of coasting, and the answer will present itself to me when it's ready, I think. I don't plan on giving any equity out in my building or in my business. I want to maintain ownership, and I don't know, but that might change. I don't know. Every day brings something new. So we're just figuring it out as we go.
That's awesome.
And sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Like, one thing that I love about like your whole idea and like your personality is like your focus is like a lot on like women empowerment and showing them like what they can actually achieve. Right? In like a lot of ways. So how would you like pass that advice on to like other females who are like willing to start something, and like what kind of advice would you give them?
First off, I am into female empowerment, but I'm really into like human empowerment.
Yeah.
Our space is not for women. It's for all genders. We're an all gender space. Male, female, non-binary, trans, whatever you are, the space is for you. It's a place for everybody. I think, the advice that I'll give to anyone, or what I'd like to say to people, is like, just go do the things that you want to do. Be a kind human. Do things for yourself, but do things for others, because when you do things for others, it comes back to you tenfold, right? Female empowerment is really great. I'm actually really surprised. I had no mentors in this project. I really looked for one. I reached out to another fitness professional before I opened my space, and his question to me when we met was, why are you opening a studio space right now? like that was like a guy that I wanted to have mentor me in my space was like, don't do it. And I was like, okay. You know what I mean? And having that happen as someone who needed guidance was really challenging. I've mentored one person in opening a space since I've opened, and I had a lot of great information. If I would have had someone who could have helped me through that, that would have been awesome. So first piece of advice, find a mentor, someone that you really trust and someone that you really respect and value, someone who is a good person. That's like the number one thing. I didn't have that, but it would have been so effective in my opening my space. Second, like be very organized and be very, very intentional with what your idea is. And then find the right people. You know, human capital is the trickiest asset that we have as business owners, and it's the most fickle. But if you've got a great team, you're going to be okay.
How did you bounce back from that? Because like you mentioned, this person was somebody that you were actually looking forward to get answers from, and like hoping that, okay, this would be like, you know, a solid rock I could lean on to for like future references. So how'd you bounce back?
It was such a weird thing. Like, I hope this person doesn't hear this. They probably will. But like we met for coffee, and I was really nervous because they were really well known and their space is huge. Like I was kind of like not starstruck, but I was like, man, I'm like meeting someone who like made this happen in the city. And we like met for coffee, and I sat down and he talked to someone at another table for like 30 minutes before sitting down with me, like totally wasted my time. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this person has no regard for my idea at all. Like I thought they wanted to talk to me about my space. And then they asked me if I wanted to split a building with them. And I was like, oh, no, I'm good. I want to do my own thing. I was actually hoping to talk to you about like how you started and all these things. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Everywhere is closing. So like the person that I respected enough with this idea shut me down from the get-go. And I was like, man, if you're not, I believe in me. If you're not going to believe in me, that's fine. And I think I'm the person that really thrives under like, you say I can't do it, watch me. Like and it's funny, like if you talk to anyone about me, I'm not a conflict person. I'll never be mean to you, but I will outdo you. That's always my thing. If you put me down, watch me. And I think that that's kind of the thing. And maybe like that's a terrible way to like find success, but like I feel like it's not worth being mean or worth like holding grudges. Just do it better. People don't believe in you, go do it. Watch them be upset. It's so great. Like, that's a great feeling. It's like good for you, and then you gain a lot of self-confidence because people who don't believe in you get to watch you do the thing that they were like nah, and that's cool. It's really cool, and I'm like, it's a proud thing. But yeah, having a mentor would be very helpful. Like if there were people out there, I think again, like there are a lot of avenues I probably could have followed. I probably could have found someone to mentor me, but I think I had such a bad experience with that first meeting that I was like, you know what, F it, I'll do it myself. And thankfully that worked out. But yeah, for people trying to do something new, try to find a mentor. I think that'd be very helpful.
So did that person ever reach out to you after they saw your success? And
No. They know, like we have at this point, we share clients. Like there's no animosity. I'm not upset about it. I was just really surprised, you know. I thought that they would be excited for me. But I think I found that there's a lot of competition. I don't play into it obviously, but like, I think, I don't know. No animosity at all. They're so great. Like their studio is fantastic. I love the people. I still like that person, but I was just really taken aback by, someone who had done it being like, I don't want to do this anymore. But like, can you imagine like having created something and then being like, no, I'm over it. And then someone asking you like, how do I get to where you are? And you're already so disenchanted with the experience. Like I get it now, taking myself out of what happened. But yeah, it was hard as starting something else to have that type, not of rejection, but like, I felt like it could have brought me a lot of doubt, and luckily because of who I am, it didn't. But I think if you were someone who didn't have an idea that they were really interested in or really, really believed in, that could be crippling. So yeah, I know people reach out to you for help, just support them or tell them that if, you know, they're doing something, if they want to do it, do it. Yeah, try not to shoot people's ideas down. That could be bad.
It's like that quote by Jay Shetty. He says that any emotion, love, kindness, care, is like a circle. If you give it, it comes back to you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, again, right, it's like not that hard because like you have your why. The team that you have right now, the clients that you have right now believe in your why. Even Simon Sinek says that like people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Mm-hmm. So it's just about like, yeah, I believe in you. This could work to something. Yeah. We don't know what's going to happen 5 years from now. It's impossible. I don't know what's going to happen in the next second. But it's just about that
As I
belief.
flip the table.
Right. Well, then we're
Storm
done.
out.
Well, then we're done.
No, it's true though. You
Yeah.
don't, like, and people will show up. Like, people you
Right.
don't believe in do amazing things sometimes, right? Like, humans are all capable of greatness. It's like leaning into that and helping them find out what their great is. You can always help someone. You always have information or knowledge you can share that helps. If someone asks you, just be there.
Right.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna end.
Oh yeah, no, just like one question before we end. So like, how do you reflect on the past 2 years? If you could just like look in the rearview mirror for like, you know, a solid 5 minutes or something, anything.
I cry a lot. I am very, it's funny. I seem like I'm super extroverted. I'm very, very, very introverted. I like people, but I need like my social battery recharge. And I spend a lot of time alone and a lot of time reflecting. And man, when I tell you, like, the amount of like tears I've had because of how incredible people are and how supportive people are, how kind and how giving, man, every experience that I've had at the studio, starting with like that founding members sale, I am so full of gratitude. Like, when I tell you this is a dream, it's because people made my dream possible. It is not what I do. People ask me all the time, they're like, how does it feel to like have this thing? And it's like, it's not me, right? Like, I'm not a one-woman show. I've got 13 other people every day who love my space, who believe in my space, who bring clients. Then I have clients who believe in my space, who bring people and come every day. Like, it is not an individual thing. So I spend a lot of time reflecting on the strength of the people that you have around you. I have incredible people around me, from my team to my clients to my friends that supported me through this. Like, man, it takes a village, and it's really beautiful to see how people can work together to open something really great and something that matters to people. Yeah, it's really special. So lots of gratitude, lots of happy tears,
Awesome.
and lots of thank yous.
You know what's amazing? Arnold Schwarzenegger, the bodybuilder, he said one thing, that there's nothing as a self-made man. Like, me reaching at the top, there was a lot of people who helped me go there. Like, I can never take the full credit of anything. Even you being there, even you being born, is because of your parents. So what are you taking the credit for?
Why do we need it, right? Like, isn't the whole part of this, the whole thing of life is like the shared experience?
Right.
Like, I'll share that credit with anyone. It's not me. But man, it feels good to have people around you that really care about what you do. So I'm very lucky, very, very lucky.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So towards the end of the podcast, we just do like a rapid fire round, and Pranav's gonna ask you 3 questions. I'm gonna ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
And it's
Now
very
I'm sweating.
No, come on.
and you just have to answer like in 1 word or 1 sentence, pretty short.
Okay.
But yeah, you can go forever too.
Okay. Awesome. I'll be short. I'm quite wordy. I'm a yapper.
That's funny. Okay, what do you value most in your life?
Relationships. 1 word.
Yeah, there we go.
What are you most grateful for right now?
The people that I have around me, for sure.
If you could give one piece of advice to your 20-year-old self, what would that be?
Embrace the chaos and keep going. Like, the mistakes that you're making now are going to pay off in the future. And they're all part of the process. Yeah.
What's your favorite restaurant in Regina?
Oh God, don't ask me that question. Okay, so this will be like a
It's got to be a veggie bowl kind of thing.
No, it's not. I'm a huge foodie. Like, I love food. My friend and I drove to Calgary for 10 hours to go to Nupo to get sushi. Like, I will travel far and wide. If anyone has a great restaurant in Regina and they want to share it with me, I would love to hear. Since Enzo closed, I go nowhere. So yeah, I'm open to all suggestions. I love a good cocktail. Send me your suggestions.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you could have a conversation with one person, dead or alive, if you could time travel, or even right now who's alive, who would that be?
Oh, that's a really hard one. I don't know. Okay, who would I want to talk to? No, that's a really hard one. Can I do that one at the end of the?
Yeah,
Otherwise,
go for it,
I'll
go
think
for
in the
it.
back of my mind.
Sweet.
I don't know. I don't reflect on that very much.
No.
Like, maybe this is like a bad answer, but like, I don't care to talk to someone who's dead. That sounds crazy.
That's what I said alive.
Like
too.
living or dead. Like I feel
Oh,
like
no,
I feel like I don't like pine for conversation with people.
Ah.
Like I think that everyone has really important things to say. I don't know. Like I don't have idols. I don't like have people that like, and I feel bad saying this. Like I don't listen to podcasts really. I don't do like self-help things. I don't like do any of that. I just like focus on
Your own thing.
well, yeah, focus on my own thing, and I focus on like treating people really well and following my happiness. And maybe that's like I'm not ever looking for answers. I'm just kind of like finding them.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah,
I'll
I don't
take
know.
that. I'll
Yeah,
take that.
okay.
I'll take that.
So, if you had to make a rule that everyone on this earth had to follow, what would that one rule be?
Do things for others before you do things for yourself. For sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that was actually it was amazing. So yeah, no, that was actually perfect. But Rachel, thank you so much for giving us time today. This was an amazing episode. And I hope you had an amazing time here on the podcast as well.
Guys, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here with you, and way to go, following your dreams.
Don't trust me, the honor's ours.
No, it's fine. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time too.
Awesome.
This was probably the most high energy podcast we've ever had. Maybe our cameras are shaking right now.
Yeah, welcome to my life. I'm a pretty ground shaky kind of person, so.
No, and we love that. And we wish you all the best and session as well.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
Come to our 2-year party,
Oh,
you
trust
know,
me, trust
at June
me,
1st. It's a little
trust
bit
me.
after May 30th.
Even if you don't invite us, we might be just
bring
knocking
some
on the window.
beer. That's fine. Come on in. Everyone's welcome. Yeah, come see
Awesome.
us.
Awesome. Sure. We'll be there.
Thank you guys.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you so much, Rachel.
Of course,
Have a good
thanks.
one.
You too.